Hi, Karen Curry Parker here with your weekly Human Design Evolution Report. We are coming up to the final little stretch in the Human Design year and beginning the new Human Design year this year on January 21st. And I thought I'd end this year and begin the process of beginning the new year with just a really short explanation of what we do every week in the Human Design Evolution Report. First of all, for those of you who may be new to Human Design is a synthesis of Eastern and Western astrology, the Chinese I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, the Judaic Kabbalah, and quantum physics. Sometimes when we learn Human Design, we get really hung up on looking for all the different parts of all these beautiful esoteric sciences within the system, but the system in and of itself is a synthesis of all of these systems and is kind of its own beast. It basically gives you a blueprint, a map, for how you process energy, and a map that ultimately tells the story of what your soul is intending to experience in this lifetime. The way I like to look at it is this. Human Design is basically a Rolodex of human archetypes. Archetypes are simply stories that we pluck out of the quantum field. We are creating constantly out of the quantum field, which is literally a field of infinite potential that contains within it billions and billions and billions and billions. Actually, it's beyond enumeration because it's infinite, but an enormous amount of combinations of possibilities and potentials that we could choose to manifest in this lifetime. But we are limited in our experience and limited in what we can pull out of the quantum field. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. That's a good thing. We live in Minneapolis, close to the Mall of America, and in the Mall of America there's this giant candy store, and I have an 8-year-old daughter. If I take my 8-year-old daughter to the giant candy store and I tell her, pick what you want, we could be in there for days while she sorts through all the different bins trying to figure out what is it that she really wants. The fact that we have somewhat limited stories, and by the way, there's an infinite number of possibilities within that limited story you're living out, but the fact that we have these limited stories, these life purposes, these soul purposes, these archetypes that we're occupying in our lifetimes, those limitations actually give us a sort of sense of relief because it narrows the field from which we choose experiences to create in our tangible physical reality. And that's a relief, because if we stuck you up in the quantum field and said, go ahead, pick whatever you want, you might feel really overwhelmed by the quantity of choices. In fact, I would even lovingly and gently say that in all the 28 plus years that I've coached people, one of the biggest things that people say to me over and over and over again is, I don't know what I want, okay? If you're choosing from an unlimited field without any kind of limitations, without any kind of filter through which to choose or to see what's possible for yourself, you would be probably bonkers with the possibilities that are available for you. You'd probably go insane because there'd be no way you could choose. So thank God for the story you're living. Thank God for the archetypes that you're occupying. And recognize that even within the narrow straits of the story that you are living, you have a large capacity to choose how you're going to manifest that story. Most importantly, and I think this is the piece I really want you to get this week, you're designed to live a story that is joyful. You're designed to live a story that is abundant. You're designed to travel along this journey that is your life and cultivate for yourself an evolving sense of meaning, an evolving sense of possibility. And so I call this the evolution report because as the planets move every week, most particularly as the sun and the earth move every week, they light up the energy themes of different archetypes, different stories, and those stories give us themes that we get to play with on a weekly basis that facilitate for us our own expansion, our own evolution, that give us the possibility of choosing how are we going to live the story that we're living. So let me give you an example. This week we start the week with the sun lighting up the 61st hexagram, which is the gate of dreaming. And as I said last week, we always do Martin Luther King Day right smack in the middle of this archetype. And we hear this archetype from Martin Luther King of being the dreamer. I have a dream, right? We always talk about the I have a dream speech while we're playing in this archetypal energy of dreaming. Now, dreaming has a lot of different variabilities in how it can show up. You can be a dreamer. And sometimes when we call somebody a dreamer, we say that kind of in an insulting way. That's somebody who's not grounded, or somebody who's not capable of really bringing all their ideas into manifested form, right? Or we have somebody who's a dreamer who, like Martin Luther King, is a visionary, somebody who has a huge capacity to transcend what we're living and experiencing right now and see an even greater, more evolved, higher possibility for what we could be choosing to manifest in our reality. So those archetypes give us themes, and we can experience all kinds of things along that theme, unlimited meaning along the theme of the archetypes if we choose. What gives us the power, and actually what influences what we attract and create in our reality, and the perceptions that we have, and actually what programs how we see the world and how we see the archetypes that we're playing with, is the meaning we give the archetypes. That's really deeply rooted in quantum physics, but I'm going to keep it super simple for you. Quantum physicists, these are the guys who are experts in the quantum field, right? Quantum physicists, when they measure the movement of subatomic particles, they recognized very early on that they could either measure the movement of a particle or the location of a particle, but not both at the same time. You can't put a location on something that's moving. Things that are moving, the quantum field is in constant movement, represents potentials. Every archetype has a movement associated with it. Lots of potential ways that an archetype could be showing up in the world, right? Location is actually how we choose to experience that archetype. What determines for us what we choose out of the quantum field, how we stop the movement of potential and actually collapse it, that's what quantum physicists call it, collapse it or manifest it or create it into your life, is the meaning you give the archetype. So when you think about the word dreamer, the meaning you give the archetype dreamer determines how you yourself might experience the energy or the theme of dreaming. If you believe that dreaming is the gateway to possibility, which is a high expression of that archetype, and you're operating with that meaning where you are so into the idea of dreaming being a powerful force of creativity and a powerful key to being creative in the world, you might even have a regular practice every day of dreaming about what's possible for you in your life. And in fact, if you're not doing that, I would lovingly and gently encourage you to do that, because the dreams you hold, the dreams you carry, the practice of dreaming is actually key to creating what you really want in your life. And certainly this week, while we continue to play with the theme of dreaming, I encourage you to think about, what meanings do you have about dreaming? Do you give yourself permission to dream? Do you judge dreamers? Do you think about life from such a practical standpoint, from such a possibility-oriented, logical, linear standpoint, that you don't give yourself permission to dream bigger than what maybe you're allowing yourself to dream right now? Do you cut yourself off from dreaming? Do you shut your dreaming off because you maybe have a long time history of feeling like your dreams don't come true, so you stop dreaming because maybe you're a little bitter about dreaming? This week, as we play with the archetype of dreaming, or continue to play with the archetype of dreaming, I encourage you to think about, what do you mean? What meanings do you have around dreaming? What meanings do you have around holding and crafting a vision for yourself that maybe carries you beyond what you think is possible, beyond what you think is practical and reasonable, but maybe allows you to tap more deeply into the heart of who you truly are, the heart of the real story that you're designed to be living in this lifetime? Where have you cut yourself off from allowing yourself to be hopeful, to be faithful that perhaps your dreams could come true? Where have you cut yourself off from disallowing yourself the gift of dreaming beyond what you think is possible, and giving yourself the gift of dreaming beyond the limitations that maybe life, the meanings you've learned from the people around you, maybe the meanings you've derived from some of the challenges you've had? Where are those meanings that you've cultivated maybe keeping you short of really stepping into dreams that serve you better? That's part of what I want you to do this week. So Let me just review this real quickly. Human design is a collection of stories about archetypes. These archetypes are rooted in esoteric sciences that are thousands of years old. These archetypes help us choose what we're going to choose out of the quantum field so that we're not overwhelmed by the choices that we have to create in our reality. What determines what we create in our reality is in part and parcel determined by the meanings we give the possibilities that we think are available to us. So if you don't like what you're creating in your life right now, the very first thing I want you to do is start changing the meanings about what you think is possible for yourself. And most importantly, I invite you to dream like a crazy person this week. Really go into the power of dreaming. Really let yourself have at least 10 or 15 minutes this week of imaginary thinking. What would happen if? What might be possible for me? If I didn't have any limitations, if I didn't have anything holding me back in my life, what would my life really look like? If I could do what I really wanted to do, what would I be doing right now? What would my life look like? Crucial, vital, powerful questions that I invite you to play with this week. Okay, Sun is transiting in the 61st hexagram. That's the story of the dreamer. Earth is transiting through the 60, which means we are dreaming. And we're also looking at the past to look for what's possible, what's been possible. What did I dream about in the past that did come true? What, if I'm going to change my life, if I'm going to change my reality, what do I want to keep in my basket of creativity? And what do I want to let go of? What things do I have that I can grow and expand on? That's the energy we're playing with until Wednesday. Wednesday, which by the way also marks us this beautiful, powerful new moon energy in Capricorn, which gives us, again, this deeply grounded energy that allows us to become very practical about our creative process. Sun moves into the 62nd hexagram, which is practicality. The sun gets super practical in the middle of the week. The Earth then moves to the 56, which is the gate of the storyteller, meaning this: we go from dreaming about what's possible, we go from looking at what do I want to grow in my life, to what's the practical aspects of where my dream is heading right now. Where is there evidence in my reality right now? What plan of action do I need to have? What things are going on right now that I can start tackling this week? If I have a dream to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, whatever, what steps do I need to start creating in my physical, tangible reality to start manifesting that dream into form? And how am I going to allow the dream that I'm cooking on, the dreams that I'm fostering, my habits of regularly dreaming so that I can create what I really want in my life? How am I going to take my dreaming and use it to craft a story of what else might be possible for me in my life? And how am I going to use this story to redefine the truth of who I am so that I begin to live a story that is a bigger, better, more evolved expression of the truth of who I really am. This is how we end our human design year, and this is also how we begin our human design year. We start our human design year in more creative, more dreaming, more fantasy-based, more expansive energy. So buckle in, buckle up. Don't let the outer reality distract you. Don't let the limitations that you think are real distract you. Let yourself continue the process of dreaming into form eventually, a life that is a life that lights you up and brings you joy, not George, joy, a life that allows you to fulfill the potential of the archetypes of the story that you're living right now, and a life that's really worthy of the truth of who you really are. Have a great week.